What is up, guys? Welcome to another video. In this one, we're finally going to be doing a full build breakdown of the Z. I'm going to just start off by focusing on what I had to do to boost this car because I think that's the topic that most people care about. I'm going to do price breakdown and what parts I had to buy to actually put a supercharger on this car, and we'll go from there. But if you're new to the channel, this is my 2012 Nissan 370Z Nismo. It is supercharged and it has a ton of other parts on it. All right, so let's get into what I'm sure most people care about, which is what you see right here. This car does have a Z1 Supercharger kit on it. It is the 80 millimeter pulley kit. So it's pretty much the lowest pulley that Z1 offers. And what I'm gonna do to explain this is I'm actually gonna just go and talk about pretty much what I see the three different areas that you need to focus on when you decide that you wanna throw either one of these, a supercharger, or a turbo on your VQ. And those three different areas are gonna be the kit itself, your fueling, and then potentially transmission work, right? Because even if you have a 6-speed manual like this car, you're still gonna have to do either an upgraded clutch, upgraded flywheel, or a CMAC kit like I do have. And then if you have an auto, you will have to do some upgrades on that too. But let's just start off with the kit itself. For the Z1 Supercharger kit, I paid $6,723. And then after I bought the kit, I did have to immediately pretty much start stacking up other parts to support the kit. Things like GTR spark plugs, those were about 95 bucks. You have to buy an Omni 4-bar mapped sensor, that's about $125. And then there's other small little things like the tune itself, right? In order for this car to run correctly, you can't just throw this supercharger on and then expect for this thing to run right. You got to do a full custom tune on it. And since this car is on E85, I had to do a flex fuel tune with Adamant tuning, which was about $1,000 after I did the full flex fuel add-ons and stuff like that. All right, so I'm obviously not gonna be able to sit here and mention every single part, every single price point. That's why I have that document in the description. But I'm gonna go into the first kind of thing that I was talking about. When you decide that you wanna boost, you need fueling mods to be able to support that boost. In my case, I am flex fuel, so I can run E85 or 91 in the car on the fly, and the tune is able to adjust for that ethanol percentage. But in order to support 16 pounds on this supercharger, I did have to do twin pumps, which required a twin pump hanger from CJM. That was about 600 bucks. And then the most important thing are your injectors. You gotta get good injectors. So I actually have, obviously you can't see them, they're below there, but I do have Injector Dynamics 1300X injectors with the PNP connectors, which is about $850. I managed to get those for a steal because those typically go for like $1,300 brand new. So I managed to find those on the Facebook forums. But moving on from there, I do have a flex fuel kit from Specialty Z. Obviously, as you can see here, I have a CJM fuel return system. That is the S1.E kit. I don't have fuel rails. You don't need that for stock block, honestly. And then obviously, one thing about boosting your car is you want to try to have as many fail safes as you can, just in case you lose fuel pressure or whatever it is. And you guys can kind of see it here, but right there, that cable right there, and then it goes to the regulator at the very back. I do have an Adamant tuning PNP fuel pressure monitoring kit. That was about 400 bucks. And the reason that I did that was because I wanted to actually be able to monitor my fuel pressure through Ecutech. Now that we've kind of covered the cost of the kit itself and then a few of the fueling mods, you also have to remember that before you boost, especially if you have a high mileage car, you're gonna have to do some sort of preventative maintenance, because if you don't, you could end up blowing your motor within the first 1,000 miles of being boosted, and that's obviously not what anybody wants, right? So some of the preventative maintenance that I did to this car before it even had, a single pound of boost was I did do the EPS gallery gasket kit, which that kit's only like 60 bucks. And then I did do a brand new water pump, brand new timing kit with the timing chains and the chain tensioners and stuff like that. And then I did do kind of more basic gaskets like the valve cover gaskets and the spark tube seals. But obviously here, the killer for me was labor. I did have to pay about $1,000 in labor for somebody to do the gallery gaskets and then do all that other stuff that I bought. But the reason I did that was because I was able to pretty much boost this car knowing that my motor had a fresh parts in it, especially those gallery gaskets. If you guys are not familiar with the VQs, the gallery gaskets are killers. If those things are blown and you throw any sort of boost at this car, it will blow pretty quick. So about $1,000 for labor there, and then about another $1,000 for parts is what that cost me. All right, after talking about the different things that I had to spend money on to boost the car, I know most of you are probably wondering what the exact cost, total cost was, and that number was $15,720.
I am never gonna financially recover from this.
Yeah, man, I know, that is a lot of money, and when I was adding this up, I honestly couldn't even believe that I was over 15K. I thought I was closer to maybe like 10, which is still a lot of money, right? But I was definitely surprised. I do have some carbon accents on the car, such as the side pillars right here, the carbon door handle covers, the mirror covers, and then obviously the VIS carbon fiber hood. And then I also have the Juke Nismo RS Sportster seats. These are actually some of my favorite seats out there, I think. It's honestly probably my second favorite mod on the car. And I did pay $3,800 for these seats, which is kind of crazy, honestly. And sometimes I think back and I'm like, man, I almost paid as much as these for the Supercharger. But I don't know, as you guys can see, man, like these are super sick. They have the red kind of main color on the seats, and then they have the Nismo engraving right on there. But I think it's a really nice touch to the interior, but definitely a lot of money for these. Their Nismo tax is real with these seats for sure. But all right, so let's move on to a little bit more of the cosmetic stuff with the car. As you can see, I do have the Morimoto XB headlights. I think these are probably one of the best looking headlights for the Zs, honestly. And as you guys can see, I did do a little bit of retrofit work with them. So I do actually have some RGB demon eyes that I put in each projector. I actually did do these myself, just because honestly, if you want this done by other people, it's like super expensive. I do have my own retrofit page. If you guys want to follow that, I'll put the tag on the screen. But I did do these, and I've had them for over a year now, and honestly, I don't use them a ton, but I think it's nice to have at a show or whatever. And they are RGB, so they actually change to pretty much any color. And I think it gives a pretty mean look to the car. Like, especially from this angle, it just looks like the car has 6 different eyes, which is pretty cool. But I do love this mod. So I do have these SSR TF1 3-piece wheels. And honestly, man, I love these wheels. I think they give the car such a nice, like they stand out so much with the car, especially with those black chrome faces. And I actually traded these wheels for my gunmetal V1 Nismos that I had on the car, which I still can't believe, honestly. I think it was a good trade, and I definitely love these wheels. So didn't really pay any money for those. I kind of just traded them. And then as you guys can see here, I am obviously bagged. This is a full airlift 3P, 3/8 compressor, sorry, 3/8 line dual compressor kit. And obviously my setup is a little bit more show style. I did pay about $2,800 for this. I actually bought it used from my buddy Ben. You guys might have seen him on the channel before, but I do love the bags. A lot of people always ask me, like, can you actually drive a boosted car that is on bags? Or they'll tell me, like, why would you run, you know, bags on a car that makes over 600 horsepower? But honestly, this car has taken it so well. I have had 0 issues with the bags. And I think I've honestly been bagged on this car for over a year and a half. So definitely love the airlift system. So I'm in the interior now, so I could kind of show you guys around the interior. And I'm going to start off with this carbon fiber steering wheel. This is actually, believe it or not, it's pretty much from Alibaba, but I got it through a vendor and the Facebook groups. And it is the full carbon with the red kind of stripe in the middle. And then it actually, as you guys can see, it has that Nismo engraving at the bottom. Yeah, this thing is super sick with the Alcantara sides. I actually did the Alcantara to be able to match the Alcantara on the Jukes. And then I obviously, you guys know I do have the gauges here. I think this gives it a super like race car feel. So that's a cool mod that I definitely like. And they're useful because you can tell, you know, what your fuel pressure are and, you know, so on and so forth. So there is the carbon steering wheel, the gauges, and then the big one too that I get a lot of questions on is actually this Tesla screen right here. So shout out to Admin Tuning, has a pretty sick portal there. But if I click on my car, I am actually able to display my EcuTech values on this tablet. So if I go ahead and turn the car on for you guys here. So when I turn the car on, it obviously failed connection because the car was off. But if I try it again, it's gonna let me pretty much see all the values. So it's loading up right there. But if I go to dashboard, you guys can see, I can see all my values. So engine oil temperature, coolant temperature, AFR, and then just a bunch of other stuff. So that's the main reason why I got this tablet. This is actually from Workshop 12, and I had somebody do an overlay carbon fiber for the plastics. Obviously the airlift controller you guys see right there, I do have this dash cam that is kind of the, you know, mirror style. So this is just from like Wolfbox, I believe. And have the likewise shifter right here. This is actually weighted. Love this thing. Have an aftermarket shift boot. This is Alcantara also to match the seats. And then, damn, beautiful Juke seats. I love those things, man. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. There's not a lot in this interior. I kind of have it a lot, you know, really simple in here. I think this interior looks best when it's kind of OEM plus finish, and that's kind of what I was going for. So yeah. One thing I did forget to mention is this car does have Fast Intentions long tube headers and a full Fast Intentions catback. I think it sounds pretty sick. I'm going to insert a clip right now of how this car sounds. All right, so I think I have talked about the majority of kind of the bigger mods on the Z. I know there is a ton of other small stuff that I'm probably missing, but honestly, guys, after recording some of these clips, I'm realizing that I could have sat here for an hour and talked about it, and probably still, I wouldn't have finished talking about the mods. So I hope you guys did kind of enjoy the information that I was able to share so far. And like I said, if you have any specific questions, just look at that document in the description. I have a lot more information on there. And yeah, but before I end the video, I did want to mention one more number, and that is actually the amount of money that I've spent on the entire build as a whole, because I did buy this car bone stock. But anyways, you guys are ready for that number? I did spend $28,514 on building this Z. Yeah, man, that's honestly really crazy. I am not saying that to flex at all. I am just saying that because I know that people will look at this and wonder how much it costs to get the build looking and performing this way. But crazy, man, almost $30,000. I literally could have bought the car again with what I've put into it. So I don't know. If you want my opinion on it though, I think this car is well worth what I've put into it. It is such a blast to drive. I think it looks so good with the bags and the wheels and just kind of everything that I've done to it. I think is a dream build for me for sure. And yeah, man, sometimes I just look at it and I can't believe it. I grew up, you know, not even being able to afford a little $3,000 car when I was like 17. And I'm so blessed. Thank you to the man above for allowing me to be in a position where I can do stuff like this now. So yeah. I do hope you guys enjoyed the information that I was able to share in this video. I know it's a lot of information, so if you have any questions, just drop a comment down below. Anyways, guys, I do appreciate you tuning into another video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.